Honorable Dombo, who will say the State of the Nation address was excellent. So you can start from there.
Oscar.
You may want to disagree for the first time.
Give him the benefit of doubt.
Oscar, for 20 years, I was a member of parliament.
And a very good aim.
And continually listened to the president give the State of the Nation address. And I want to tell you that at one time there had been a proposal that we make an enabling law. The enabling law was proposed to require the president to give a comprehensive State of the Nation that captures a string of things within the economy. What about politics? That particular year, when the Honorable Katuntu and others came up with that proposition, I think, I don't know what had happened. When the president talked, you would see that there were many fundamentals that had not been addressed. I listened attentively this time. And in my chair, I was seated in the office because I did not go to Kololo because of the urgent things we're dealing with. I gave the president a standing ovation from my office because of the issues Honorable Katuntu has just mentioned. You see, the president has got 2 hours in order to capture the things that he considers important to tell the nation about the State of the Nation. And 2, in his conclusion, he said he's going to deal with the issues of corruption and other issues on the budget day. So he deliberately omitted those because there is going to be another opportunity to deal with them, and he talked about the fundamentals on which the economy lies. Honorable Ssemujju is right. There are many issues that we must deal with in the economy and the social life of Ugandans. The level of corruption that characterizes the institutions where people are registered en masse, showing the numbers that we have certain numbers because people want capitation grant. But when you get the only day when you are going to check those registering for the final exam, you discover that all along you have been funding children in primary schools who have not been actually there. But now the gap is being shown because of these omissions. These are things that we must deal with and the underlying factors which must happen, because there's been corruption in schools. People have been overstating the number of children. There have been an attempt to do statistics and enumeration. Now that head count is going to help us to confirm whether what the head teachers report is right. But for us recently, as a party secretariat, we just visited one of the districts in Omoro here. And the confessions we got from some of the teachers is very revealing. So, as the president talked about corruption, that's one of the areas that we feel that the president must deal with. Secondly, in order for the economy to run, or for the president to be able to fund security, job creation, and any other aspects of the economy, he must earn money. That's why people are fighting to go to parliament. You'd ask yourself, how would NUP be fighting against Ssemujju in the Kira for them to go and fight Museveni, if not to partake of what the economy is providing within parliament? So, because of that, therefore,
both you and Ssemujju are not on microphone. Continue. Emmanuel Dombo's voice is enough to cover all of you.
Because of that, therefore, we believe that this year's State of the Nation address covered the fundamentals, but also raises the gaps that are existing. The president is talking about skilling. When you got the skilling centers, recently I went to one of the farms in Gayaza here, and I went with my family and other farmers. What was so surprising is that the person who was teaching in that farm, the highest level of education was senior 4, but in the class we were still there with a professor from Makerere University, who had come to learn how to look after cattle and feed cattle. So skilling of Ugandans is a fundamental area that had been omitted, and we needed to integrate skilling right from the time when a child goes to school. When I joined Bukedi College Kachonga in 1978, we were doing metal workshop. And in my senior 4, the job that I was doing, I was repairing saucepans and cups and plates, because it was a skill that I had learned while I was in school. Right now, the majority of the children that we are teaching, nobody can do any skilling out of the 4 years education that they have. There has been a curriculum review now. They may begin addressing some of those. But these are fundamental gaps that are existing, and we shall appeal to members of parliament to help us. That, as the president raised here, we need the skilling of the young people. Those people are talking of going to Saudi Arabia with degrees. Somebody has studied history, somebody has studied psychology, somebody has...
I think history is useless.
No. History is not useless.
So what are you trying
But the employability...
What point are you trying
that
to...
the employability...
Have I not been employed?
The opportunities...
And you were running to parliament looking for a job when I didn't go there?
Professor, I'm telling you that there are many children who have done history on the streets of Uganda. They are looking for jobs that are not available, and they have ended up in being made in foreign countries. Those children, if they are given skills,
if you go there, you'll find their engineers.
If those children are given schools, those who go as engineers go as experts. They do better jobs and earn better money.
But even a historian can go there as an expert.
Well,
that is off topic. Continue.
So
that is the only history you must have failed.
So the issues the president raised, this was a fantastic. But like Honorable Katuntu says, we now need to look into the figures and the statistics that has been given. Even the level of funding, if the president is raising challenging issues and areas that there must be intervention, and yet the members of parliament have made a budget, does the budget take into consideration the issues? Does it take consideration the issues that the president has raised? If it doesn't, and there's an opportunity for a supplementary expenditure, these are the issues now you should be using the president's speech in order to overcome some of the issues that you have been asking. Because this is how we used to do it when we were in parliament. I don't know how you do it these days.
Let's go to Ofonopono on the State of the Nation address.
Yeah, Oscar, it is a truncated debate here, and we are not helping listeners, in my view, because you had said assessment of the state of the nation. Did the president's presentation give accurate reflection of the country? The heckler in Ssemujju, wait when I come to parliament and we heckle each other. For now, let us use the microphone.
You continue. I only have your microphone on. Let's be strong on the microphone.
Like Honorable Katuntu, Raymond, and Honorable Dombo, they have said, I think the presentation reflects the state of the country, its politics, its social terrain, its economic terrain. Did it cover everything comprehensively? No. Obviously not. Partly on account of time. But if you say in summary, the president tackled major areas. What are those major areas? In my view, there are 4. The first one, obviously, the security, peace, stability and tranquility in the country. Is our country more stable today, more tranquil than 5 years ago, than 10 years ago, than 40 years ago? Obviously, yes. Is this tranquility being consolidated? Yes. And the president and all of us know that in Uganda today, you can move to wherever place you want, anytime. Particularly, no state agents will no. You made your presentation.
Continue.
I know when we talk about history not being as irrelevant to the economy, you will jump on me. But yes, your lack of knowledge about me does not mean I'm not. And
you
I
have to
forgive
continue.
you.
Just continue.
Yes. Mambosia, his history does not confer on him or in him comprehensive knowledge about individuals. No, it doesn't.
And you know much more about it.
Hold on, Professor. Let him first finish.
I am saying so.
So here I didn't talk about Nguya Mawe. I challenged you on the statistics of human development, which he doesn't know.
On that one, the state of the country's security, as the president presented, is reflective of what is on the ground. Secondly, the president talked about the state of the economy, giving graphic details of where we are at micro, medium, and national level. And these are parameters or indices that are internationally set. For example, is our population living longer? Yes, is living longer today than 5 years ago, as reflected by infant survival or reduction in infant mortality, a reduction in maternal mortality, increase in life expectancy.
Just pause there for a second.
Our economy is more diversified today than before. We are still depending more diversified than 10 years ago. Go to any shop in Uganda today, you will see that about between 40 and 60% of the goods in those shops are locally manufactured.
40%?
40, 60%, depending on where you go. 40. Yes. No. I'm talking about the structure of the economy. 30 years ago, 30 years ago, we were smuggling basic things: sugar, soap, soda, and beer. The state was the one distributing. Today, many of those things are locally manufactured. You can say they are Chinese companies or Indian companies that are here making them, but they are Ugandan businesses. They pay taxes to Uganda. We are still relying to some extent on donations from wealthier countries. But generally speaking, Uganda is able today to fund many more services and goods on its own. And I want to give just our own political area, governance. There was a time in this country when our governance institutions, parliament, our elections, our judiciary, our police was being recruited, trained, and funded only when the Commonwealth, particularly Britain and Canada, would say we now have money for you to recruit the police, for you to recruit the judges. Today, we are recruiting those judges, we are training them, we are paying them on our own. And therefore, in my assessment, the presentation of the president on that account reflects the state of the nation. Let us go to infrastructure. The 4 major or 5 major infrastructure in the country. If you go to roads are certainly improving. Are they sufficient? Certainly not. But they are improving. If you go, there's no border of Uganda today that you cannot drive and come back to Kampala in one day on account of relatively. I am talking about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Would you drive to Arua from Kampala and come back the same day? No. Would you go to Kisoro? Would you drive to Kisoro and come back the same day? No. Today you can drive from Kisoro to Moroto on a good road, and probably even go back to Kisoro if you want to Moroto. So for me, yes, Masaka is on account of one, heavy traffic, but also broken road. But are there no other roads being done? There are other roads being done. The second area of infrastructure is just energy. Have we put energy in everybody's house, in everybody's factory? Obviously, yes. But we are 25% from where there was a time when we were 6%. Today we are 25%, and therefore, in terms of energy infrastructure, what the president presented reflects what is on the ground. Let's go to telecommunication. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, there were parts of this country, districts in this country, where you wouldn't even get a telephone call. You needed to climb on a tall tree. Those of us who travel in this country today, nearly every district, in nearly every place now, has no data connection. It may not be as reliable, but there's a data connection. You can do internet work there, you can do email there, you can do WhatsApp there, and you don't have big issues. Let's go to
Someone
education.
is telling you here that all those things you've mentioned so far are coming from improved global technology. Not necessarily related to NIM.
Go to Congo and have the same argument. Go to South Sudan and have the same argument. Go even to Sudan and have the same argument. If it is a global, no. If it is a global trend, then it should be everywhere. Let us look at our education. I agree, and I am very grateful for the Bodombo. There have been people in the government who are fidgeting with figures for self-pecuniary interest. If you go to many of our schools, for example, and this should have been done or ought to be done by all elected leaders, just pay a courtesy call to any of your primary school or 2-3 primary schools in your constituencies and say, Mr. Headmaster, I have come, call students, call children, let's do a head count. And then say, give me your register. And do that again after 3 months. You will see a marked difference that the actual pupils in schools don't tally with what the teachers, what the management in the school have in their register. Usually they inflate for various reasons and so on and so forth. So it is incumbent upon us, particularly the leaders, to ensure that we bring these issues out and reflect. Professor Ndebesa says the president did not talk about this, but these figures are there. The president did not need to talk about dropout rates, probably. Only recently, when the president has been doing the PDM tours, it is him, for example, who said how in Teso sub-region, in Bukedi sub-region, the success rate, transition rate of children from primary to secondary is hardly 30%. It is him who said so.
But it has been
yes.
We are not assessing No. We are assessing Sona's speech.
I am saying the president's speech reflected what is on the ground. Was it comprehensive? Did it touch every detail? Obviously, he couldn't do so on account of time. Now, let us go to the fourth area of the infrastructure. The schools. Have the government schools and the private schools increased and improved? My response is yes, and what the president is saying reflects what is on the ground. Are there no weaknesses in the school infrastructure? Obviously, there are weaknesses in the school infrastructure, but do they reflect what is on the ground? Yes. There has not been any attempt by the president to hide the internal weaknesses or malaise in government. In any case, most of the time, these weaknesses are being unearthed not by individuals or even opposition groups as they would want the public to think. They are being identified and raised by government institutions. Parliament is one of them, IGG is another, and the different inspectorates of ministries. They're the ones raising these things. And so, I would only have issues. I would have issues if the president tried to hide information or tried to hide a weakness. It is this government, of all the governments we have had, that has had the courage. Yes, yeah, and even that one is good. Now, somebody talks. Somebody stronger. Yes.
More than 80% of Uganda's population have known only one government.
Yes, and I'm saying that is good. What? Yes. What we should wait for?
At least for him, you can tell us the two, because he was in the other government of UPC and he's in NRM.
I know.
So he can assess both of them.
You and I, the four of us here, were in UPC. You remember?
No, he was not in UPC.
You remember in Rohama. You remember the CA election which you tried. One of the
was
reasons,
in UPC?
One of the reasons you were not elected in that election of '94 probably was your association with UPC. And you know, I was a journalist then. You didn't you contest?
How did they associate me with UPC?
Anyway,
I am a former member of UPM. So who told you that I was UPC?
Longevity of one government is good. It would have been a problem if we had been long here and doing nothing. Now somebody talks about transition. Yes, we have not yet transited from one president to another peacefully. But look at the leadership, the people in leadership. Don't you see transition? Honorable Ssemujju here replaced Honorable Njoba. Njoba. Isn't that a transition?
In NRM.
No. Isn't that a transition?
In NRM.
Before Njoba died.
In NRM.
So you wanted him to continue being an MP in his grave.
In NRM, younger people have replaced Dombo.
That is succession, not a transition.
Isn't that a transition?
The two are different.
Transition from an older Dombo who had spent 25 years, a quarter of a century in the parliament, by younger people. And if you look at many of the constituencies, look at our parliament, for example. Our parliament, the average age at entry is usually 37, 42, average. I dare say, probably this coming one, the average, the dominant age in parliament could be 30. So, and for me, that's so both succession and transition in our governance, which is good. Somebody, you said Nora Waraga, talks about women. Even there, yes, they have not reached equilibrium. But generally speaking, more women are entering decision-making places, both in the government and the corporate world. Go and check the banking, the financial sector, go and check the corporate world. You will see many more women rising up into executive positions. Look at our judiciary, for example. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, how many women did we have at the High Court? How many women did we have at the Court of Appeal? How many women did we have in the Supreme Court? How many women did we have as permanent secretaries?
And so far he has covered 200 kilometers. Maybe Raymond will comment on it when he comes on. But I invited Honorable Lumu yesterday, and he hasn't made it. I want to talk about a little bit about DP. Starting with you, Honorable Ssemujju.
Because I am DP.
You are close to you've been Subi, and you are also PFF. So at some point we are going to talk about PFF. So now I keep thinking, how many DPs do we have? Democratic Party.
There is one DP.
There is one DP.
Yeah.
Right.
People have left because you see a political party.
Because at some point there were also two FDCs. That's what comes to mind when I asked you.
There is no two FDCs anymore.
Yeah. The other one has become PFF.
Yes.
Okay. So going back, how many DPs do we have?
The DP people have registered a number of political parties. People are known to be DP. The latest of those is the Democratic Front by the Honorable Mpuga.
Yeah, for him he had left.
But within his group, he's DP, that's why he goes back to DP. Within his group, the Honorable Mavike has Social Democratic Party. The Honorable Obed Wanika has People's Development something. The Dr. Ulume, who is my friend, and I told him when he was going to contest for this DP election, and I want to congratulate him. Maybe there are things we've known that we would never have known. That once a party, the leadership of party begins working with the government, it becomes very difficult for you to go and change anything. I had colleagues who said we should go back to Najana Nkumbi and fight. These fellows can't take our party. You go to Najana Nkumbi, the outside has police, inside has chiefs. You get beaten by chiefs inside, you come outside, you get arrested by police. And I said, for me, I am not going to subject myself to that. That I wake up every day to go to Najana Nkumbi. You enter, they beat you. You jump the first, police arrest you. So, so I told Lumu, you can try, and Dr. Baiga. But
you were actually advising him to leave the DP.
Because it's a wastage of time. Once a party has been taken, it has been taken. It's like a person dying. You bury. My father died. I took him to the grave, but I wanted him to live. So do I go with him? He has died. So I go and accompany him. The only time I accompanied him was when I went to lower him into the ground, and I prayed for him and left.
Okay.
But so I think the Vaigas want to continue, so they have accompanied their father to the grave. They want also to be to stay there.
You're saying they are fighting a futile battle.
It is not possible. You see, for us in Uganda, look at UPC. Walubiri and his team went to all courts, including the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court judged that Akena was a UPC leader against all the laws. That's why the Supreme Court said. But he continued being. Then RM recognized him. Because you see, parties are recognized by the Electoral Commission run by NRM. I don't remember which election it was, when Walubi had just registered success in one of the courts. And I know, I may not tell you the details, but Museveni called someone, he sent to Electoral Commission to issue a press statement that they recognize Akena because we are moving towards the nomination. And the Electoral Commission issued a press release to say, for us, we recognize Akena despite the court judgment. So if you wanted to contest as UPC, you had to go to Akena. If you want to continue crying over UPC, you hold a workshop. But the party had gone.
Okay.
So the elections in I don't know why these guys went to disturb Mao. He took his thing, it's finished. And at every stage, police was intervening to stop them. Maybe they wanted to expose him, and that was the only success. But you spend a lot of time and resources on that. Yet you need the same resources to go and mobilize electoral areas where you are contesting.
Professor, on DP.
Yeah, I wanted to continue on security because I don't know why we are disturbing the peace of DP, which should be allowed to rest in peace. Because
we will talk about security in a few minutes, but DP has been in the news this week.
DP has been in the news, like Honorable Nganda has said. There is a lot of political polarization in the country. It's not only in DP, it is in all parties. Luckily, NRM, theirs might not be salient because they are in power. And if one continues to shout, they can go to parliament and appropriate some 100 million to them and they will keep quiet. So DP has issues, and I think Sebagara said that Mao would dump it in the Nile. I think he has now dumped it in Katonga, because where they have reached, I think they have reached a point of no return. First of all, they had been reduced to Buganda only in terms of those who could go to parliament. Now it has been truncated. I think you saw some of the MPs from DP have crossed through NUP, have followed their former colleagues who had also joined NUP. By and large, that is a challenge, that is a tragedy of Africa, of post-independence Africa. By the way, there is almost no political party, that independence political party, that lost power, that regained anything to the status even of getting 10%. As long as it lost power, We are waiting to see how CCM will survive. It may, even when it loses power, because it is institutionalized. But even those which missed coming into office, into power, the independent political parties, they are no longer surviving because they were not institutionalized. So even the DP or NRM or FDC, you will find the NRM resorting around President Museveni, FDC around Chiza Besigye, DP around Mao now, NUP now around the Chaguranyi. So unless the parties are institutionalized and membership in the party are united by a thread of a value system or values rather than just following the individual, definitely when they are not in power to use advantage, take advantage of power, they are likely to disintegrate. So what we saw in Mbarara was a clear case of rigging, because you cannot say that so and so has been proposed as the chairperson of the electoral commission or electoral management committee, and so who seconds so and so says I have seconded, nominations closed. But there were others who were aspiring to come there. The same thing of rigging internally happened in UPC in 1964, 65 or thereabout. In Guru conference, when they rigged out Kakonge, you ask UPC what happened to it after that Guru conference. It has never been a UPC that was there before. So these internal challenges in EDP can be in any other, and unfortunately the rigging that took place in Mbarara is very, very unfortunate, and it has really disintegrated DP when it had just decided to be in a survival mood and survive only in Uganda. Now even it has lost out in Uganda, so I don't know where it is going to be. Maybe Mao is going to take the leftovers to the NRM, and that will be the end of DP.
Raymond.
Yes.
Seated next to Professor here, quoting 1964.
I struggle with I think that political parties and political identities, I struggle to see the future for them. The average voter now coming into the next election, these young Gen Zs, these traditional opposition political parties, traditional ruling parties, they are not the way in which they organize their politics. So a party like the Democratic Party used to be founded on strong ideals like religion, Catholicism, for example. That's dying out in the younger ages. So you can't tell people that, you know, if you're Catholic, we organize our politics through a political party called the Democratic Party. Those things are dying out.
You may find that if you're Catholic, you're not even a voter. You don't vote.
Exactly.
You just go to Namugongo.
Yes, and I even sympathize a lot more with even the NRM, because for the NRM, it's really built on the capacity for violence and legitimacy after the election. The ability of the NRM to mobilize both money and human resources to guarantee wins, electoral victory for candidates. That's really its strong spot. Over time, that's going to die out. The number of people showing up to vote are going to reduce increasingly. So you have total voters who register, and then those who eventually show up to vote, and then those who vote the winning candidate. Museveni was voted by like 5.8 million people. That's less than 12% of the voters, total voters in the country. That should tell something about people not organizing within the politics of the country. So I struggle to see the future of these parties. I see people fighting tooth and nail to get these parties.
Shall we go the Kenya way?
Maybe we will go that way, where people arrange along coalitions, but people's politics have become very different. This is the last year, for example, that Uganda is going to have without oil. Once oil money starts to flow, we will become a very different political entity. If people in Hoima, for example, say we will not back the NRM, there will be an immediate concern there on how does the NRM organize without places like Hoima and Masindi. So for people fighting for political parties, I think the noise should be outside. You should worry a lot more about the people who are not showing up to those political parties. Yeah.
Abdu? On DP?
What parties is independent?
Carl has sent me a message here saying, finally, Ssemujju has accepted that FDC had Chifesi and goons.
I think historians will agree that at the time the Uganda People's Congress and the Democratic Party were being formed, religion was a big factor, because at that time these religions were trying to fight for political space, and the Catholics anchored in DP and the Protestant in the UPC. But that is all history. Today the circumstances are different. DP had to reinvent itself, so UPC had to reinvent itself outside the religion. Would it be possible? Maybe not. They are stuck. Now, the Honorable Mao runs a very, very big contradiction, Oscar. And let me tell you why. One, the stronghold of the Democratic Party is in Buganda. And the Buganda leaders in DP feel this is their thing. They have never accepted Mao as their leader. Look at all the members in parliament. All of them. They have never, the majority of them, they have never accepted Mao as their leader. They certainly look at him as an outsider. So what Norbert has done is to mobilize the other regions where actually DP is non-existent. And they come with the numbers. And actually throw away the Buganda seeking leader. They throw them away and impose Mao. But then there is no support of DP in Karamoja, in West Nile, in Isebe, nothing. In Mbale, nothing. It is literally in Bukedi where Dombo comes from. It is zero. But there are many delegates who are coming from Bukedi to come and vote with the Lulumes who have the part and the support. It's the biggest contradiction Norbert Mao finds himself, and isolated. Because where DP is strong, Mao is seen, maybe non-existent. And where there is no DP, Mao is strong. I don't know how you can run such a party. So no wonder that the only option left to him is to enter into some sort of marriage with the ruling party. Otherwise, had he continued being, where is the headquarters again? Balintuma. There he would have been a Balintuma politician. He would have just lived there on Balintuma Road and so on, moreover in a hostile territory. But whenever now the DP supporters come in, the activists from Buganda, he must rely on his other partner to help him. Indeed, like we saw in Mbarara, he had to rely on, sorry? It helped in providing security. Can I end on that note?
You know that I've told you, and I've told Mao as well, that my late father had forgiven him for taking the DP party.
Yes.
He told him that I have forgiven you. But these days I don't know what he would tell him when they meet later.
I don't know what they will tell him, because really, to me, where Mao comes from, there is no DP, and the people, there's very little DP there, and the DP which was there was based on their history of Acholi and Catholics. That is all.
In Uganda, soon to be Honorable Fonopondo, why did Norbert Mao
function? These days we meet them at funerals.
Yeah.
They are called MP2B.
MP2B.
So right. Call him MP2B of Fonopondo.
MP2B. What's MP2B of Fonopondo?
I don't refer to myself because that's not a title.
I'm really waiting for you in Parliament, because you have never liked that institution. But that's a discussion for me and you later.
I have had
problems with the leadership.
With the leadership? No, I can't have issues with the institution, but the content there. And not just me. Honorable Ssemujju has described them variously.
But you are not agreeing. But
tomato growers, potato growers, and so on. So
why was this delegates conference important to?
I was with Honorable Mao in another show. Our show with the Honorable Ssemujju. Ssemujju didn't turn up last Thursday, and he said in Mbarara particular, in the run-up to Mbarara, he had been surrounded by, the people said, enemies. That's what he said. And said those enemies are provincialists. They are tribal ethnicists from Buganda, who, as Abudu says, have never wished him well. And we all know that when Mao came in 2010, that was the contour of the contest in DP. The people in Buganda who Abudu says are the ones who have the support of the party, have the majority support of the party.
Go to the figures. They have 80 MPs. Only one is from Acholi. The 7 are from Buganda.
Yes. So that's what the Honorable Mao says. But anyway, let's go back to the history of DP in particular. Many people accuse Mao for bringing or selling or leasing DP to NRM. But this has been
your choice of words.
Yes, this has been the trend of DP. In 1963, the 1961 election of self-government, the 1962 election of independence, our area there, Bukedi, was actually DP on account of Catholics being the majority. That time, Bukedi was from Busia up to Parisa. All MPs there in that 1962 election were DP. Our own first MP, James Ochola Ondoa, was a Catholic and was elected DP MP. In 1963, a big chunk of DP MPs struck an accord with the UPC and they crossed. I think DP then remained just with out of the 21 MPs. The DP remained with about 5. I think Alex, yes, 24, Latim and so on, people, very, very few. So it is not Mao who is selling DP. He is not the first person. I'm saying this has been the trend in DP. When Amin came, who were the first leaders, national leaders, to join him? The first national leaders to join Amin were former DP members of parliament, former DP leaders in different places. You can go and check this history.
When NRM came in?
In 1980, DP of Ssemujju group chose to block Yusuf Lule, who at that time they accused him of being pro-monarchist. And Lule's plane, the plane that was carrying Lule back from Tanzania, stopped mid-air because the DP leadership in Uganda at that time, Ssemujju and his group, connived with Paul Mwanga, who was the de facto president, and they turned that plane back because they said DP, because Lule had announced that he was coming back to lead the DP. And the DP people here said, no, DP already has leadership. What is he coming to do? So Mwanga turned Lule's plane.
This is factual.
Yes. 1980 elections, DP won 51 seats, I think. UPC won 72 seats. Yes. DP was mainly in Busoga, DP was in Uganda, DP was in Toro, DP was in Bunyoro. Those are the areas that brought DP MPs in the UPC2 government.
I'm going to interrupt you and say speed
in
up.
Yes, in 1983.
I look at the
In 1983. Yes, in 1983, at Colin Hotel in Toro, about to convene there a public rally. What is now Colin Hotel?
What is rationalism?
It was. Yes. Again, DP MPs crossed en masse.
So
into UPC.
So in conclusion,
yes.
This
so
is
come to Mbarara.
Mbarara.
Yes.
Mbarara, it was a replay
of the
of
past.
all the delegates conferences that DP has had. Remember in that 1984, DP actually split and Mary Okeny Atwoma, the vice president of DP, when he contested with Ssemujju and he lost, he formed the National Liberal Party. When Ssemujju came and joined the NRM, I don't know if many of you still remember, DP mobilizers group of Michael Kagwa. And then another Fisher came up, the top dialogue of Waswaziri Twawula, which separated from Ssemujju on account when Ssemujju agreed with the NRM to extend the NRM term by another 5 years. So I think we shouldn't just blame Mao. It is in their DNA, the DNA of DP.
That is real DP.
Yes.
The Emmanuel on Bara.
Oscar, when you look at the history of DP, every time there has been a challenge within the leadership of the Democratic Party, they would either go to Rubaga or some of those senior clerics in order to have a discussion and find out how it could be resolved. That last happened, I think, when Honorable Ssemujju was still alive. And ever since Honorable Mao came to the fray, this hasn't been happening. And I don't know whether this is because of the weakened roots that form the Democratic Party, as my friends have been saying. For us, the National Resistance Movement, we have an agreement with the Democratic Party. And because of that agreement, I will be constrained to discuss the Democratic Party in a certain line. But watching what happened in Marara, I started wondering whether some of these parties don't have anything to learn from the Vatican. Because what came out in the media is not good enough for anybody. Even Honorable Mao, however much he tries to sanitize it, it shows that there was something that wasn't doing well or going on well in Mbarara. And perhaps if it had been confided in a room and the members and the public only waited for smoke, we could have seen black smoke or white smoke and believed that perhaps now the Democratic Party has got a leader. But the way it has been portrayed out in the public, it shows that there is a lot of challenge within the Democratic Party, and there is a lot that must be done in order to bring the members of the Democratic Party together. They have promised. I've listened to my brother Sebamala, engineer, and the Honorable Mabaiga. I don't know whether they will be going to court to challenge what happened in Mbarara. But for us, we wish the Democratic Party well. Our agreement still exists.
Okay.
And let's hope that they will come and support us in the National Resistance Movement during the elections.
Thank you. Just one comment from you, Raymond. Following comments from historic comments from Ofonopondo, what does that tell you about the earlier comment? Will you relate?
Oscar, I just want to be in this studio in possibly 2030. Before 2031, when PLU decides that they want to go against the NRM, then we would have that contestation within the NRM itself. Because when it started,
you think it's going to take that long?
Again, we can only hope. We can only hope. Because last weekend I was listening to this program and I was listening to Duncan.
Raymond, what you are saying won't happen.
Yes.
Dombo and Ofonopono are going to be handed over to Muhoozi by his father. These ones are going to be handed over.
But that's because you're listening to Duncan Abigaba.
Yes, I was listening to Duncan Abigaba take on Emmanuel Dombo, and I thought to myself, if this contestation were allowed the way DP had it,
you don't have to wait there.
Yes.
Just go around the country now.
Yes.
Posters have emerged now.
Yes.
Go and see most posters of younger candidates are having NRM badge and PLU logo.
So that should tell you that many of these political parties are seated on very fragile ground.
Yes.
So I wouldn't want to laugh at DP because I see all the parties are headed in that direction. Yeah.
FDC went to PFF and
ANT before PFF.
ANT, yes, it's ANT. Right. So back to you, Prof. You had wanted to have a discussion on security. Or insecurity. This last week, this week actually, we had a bomb threat. The UPDF said that neutralized it. A couple of days before that, last weekend, there was a second attack on a police station, and you seem to be but yes, on a police station. And for you, Prof, you seem to be concerned by greater insecurity, and it came to you when OO said we're a lot more secure now, and he gave comparisons: Congo, South Sudan, he didn't add in Afghanistan and so on.
Not only that, he was challenging me that he knows security far, far better than I know. Let's not go into that. But let me say this one. That the definition of security or the understanding of security should not be limited to military hardware or military capabilities. In my opinion, security should be wider. In the case of Uganda, I think we have an existential threat to security and integrity of the country on account of polarization we have in this country. We can start with Bwana or Fonopondo's region. When I was there at St. Peter's College, Tororo, studying there, I didn't know the difference between the Japadora and the Iteso. Today, you can see that Tororo is now divided in I don't know how many sects. When you look at the whole country, each community, each ethnic group, each clan wants to run away from another clan or another tribe, away from the district. What Kasese go everywhere. When we extend it to cultural institutions, they are dividing every day. Dioceses, even the archbishop, especially the Anglican archbishop, is being flooded by people demanding to separate from the others. When you look at political polarization,
say that this is insecurity?
Yes. That is my interpretation of insecurity. When you see the political polarization between political parties and the ruling government and even within, you find a country that is not integrated, is not cohesive, is disunited and polarized, and that is the basis of insecurity. So when we are talking about security or insecurity, let us look at non-military security factors, and those are the very, 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 very important in Africa, especially because in Africa the threat to the national security and integrity is not from outside. It is internal to the countries. Go to Libya, Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan, Congo. It is basically internal. So, in the case of Uganda, we have a lot to do to make sure that we are secure. Because this business we are talking about today, the security we have, Mr. Opondo, in my interpretation, you have yours, which is expert, is that we are being kept together by President Museveni because he has control over the army. You know, the day President Museveni is not there, if we don't do something about this polarization I'm talking about to create national cohesion, the country can disintegrate. And I have given examples before. People say, especially I think my friend Kahindo Tafire, nobody says, Uganda has always been there, we found it there, it will always be there. I would want to ask him whether Yugoslavia is there. Is that Czechoslovakia? There was a country called Czechoslovakia. There was a country called the Soviet Union. Are they there anymore? So, they are not. The land is there, but the land does not define a nation. Does it?
No.
A country and a nation is not defined by Utaka. It is defined by the don't even joke about these things of security, of national security and national cohesion and national integration. So when we are dealing with creating security, we should be looking at how to integrate society. The common terminology for the economy that we were told okay, that is a national, we want to build a national integrated economy. I think we also need to build a national integrated society.
Okay.
When you Opondo sees how disintegrated you are in your region, then you shouldn't be looking at security from only the point of view of having bigger guns and bigger commanders. That's not where security comes from. That's where Gaddafi thought he had security. Ethiopia thought had security. Somalia thought had security. Security does not lie in big guns and the military capability. It lies in an integrated society. So in the case of these bombs that you had, it is partly that You see, it is not sustainable to continue saying that we have the military capacity to contain you. No. What is important is we have the institutions in place to mitigate and mediate the conflicts between different entities in a country. So what we need to do now, those people who are causing insecurity here, we need to find ways and means, soft power now, using soft power, not hard power, of having them on board so that we resolve their grievances, not merely saying we are capable of defeating you. You know, Obote used to tell Museveni that you have gone to the bush, we shall find you there and we shall leave you there. Museveni is in the state house, Obote didn't die in the state house. So let's be careful about security. However much you think you have the technical capacity to contain the people.
Abdul.
Yes.
Security, insecurity. The reference was to the bomb that was neutralized, and second time a police station is being attacked. This time round, though, it is reported that they were arrested.
It is reported. So I hear. But let's, I think let us try to separate these issues. There is one from an academic point, like a Professor Mambusha is trying to elucidate. Yeah, and he's a professor, so we expect that sort of analysis.
No,
let me speak. Then there is a security from where
is not us.
So then there is security which an ordinary man consumes. Like if you are an ordinary man in Kampala, is it true you can leave your house at night and move to town or town to your home safely? Is it also the view that that ordinary man would look at security like a Professor Mambusha? Maybe not. Is Kampala city or other towns the same like what goes on in the other regions? Sometimes I do work in South Africa, but I rarely move out of my hotel in the evening because you know that any time you could have a problem. So to that extent, the Uganda People's Defense Forces and all the security agencies have done some good work, that where a person can work, can leave town anytime and can drive home and wake up and go and work. Then there are these other aspects like we are seeing lately, where I think there's a very, very big national problem that you can have the Uganda People's Defense Forces attack a police station, attack like a rebel group, overrun it, and then go away. And there is an incident this month, then the following day there is another incident. Formal government institutions are attacking each other. We only lucky that because the last one, there was even exchange of fire. We could have had bodies and so on. What does that signal? That the disciplined Uganda People's Defense or the NRA, I think, is starting to miss a point. That's why we hear even these other stories of learning some language, being somewhere in a basement and so on. No, I said learning Runyankole maybe or wants me to say it as it is. Yeah. So, but I'm an old man. I have a grey beard, by the way, so I know how I speak. So once you have those sort of things, I think the Professor Mambusha's analysis starts coming in. So, by the way, what you are having can easily collapse within 1 or 2 days, and you can have a problem. So it is time to do, reflection, especially on the people who manage the state apparatus, that this country does not degenerate, because all of us will be cooked and will be cooked for dinner.
Okay. Honorable Ssemujju.
This week you had it's called the Asingwire. One of those Nixon. Agasirwe. One of those senior police officers under Kayihura arrested.
He was powerful when he was still in power.
On suspicion of murder. for me with NRM, even when, because the explanation by Magezi, who speaks for UPDF, about that bomb was not adding up. And because we are approaching elections, I am not sure whether they themselves are not involved to create a situation. I went to Eid for the first time and we were being checked because we pray from Nambole by UPDF innocently. So you are dealing with a very sophisticated regime that survives on security and insecurity. If they want to cause it, they will cause it, and then they will use it against announce measures and because I told you here, Oscar, when Tumukunde was in charge of the same way ISO, at that time he was getting 600 million monthly to fight terrorism in Kampala. His treasurer, this one who was buying markets, he was a Colonel Major General Mujenyi was his treasurer. As soon as they leave that job, Mujenyi started buying properties in Kampala. Even Tumukunde was removed from ISO. One time we had a story in Monitor that he had gone to the cattle markets in their areas and he was not even Kuramuza, he was just loading trucks and buying. So the people in security, sometimes at an institutional level, sometimes at a personal level, they want to cause insecurity because it's one way they get money. But sometimes institutionally, Museveni himself will be behind it because he wants, I think every bomb thrown around Museveni will celebrate it because internationally he's fighting terrorism. Internally, you've seen wars every day. You know, you work with the ADF, you are the one throwing bombs. Don't think, Oscar, those statements are innocent. That a bomb goes off, then the next tweet by Moz is that you and UP, you are the one throwing the bombs. So it tells you the nature of the campaigns that we are going to have. But the attack on police, see, this state has been taken over by the military. And the military now sees itself, I think, at the same level where many soldiers were. Everything else is under them. You policemen, who are you? We have told you detain Dombo. How can you not detain him? And they do that almost at every police station. There are military people there. So we are under a military arrangement. So that's why when Moz was summoned by Parliament, he said, you clowns, you MPs, Bono, you are about to become one clown. He said, you clowns, I cannot, you should be yes. He said,
hold on, no.
Yes. So he said, you clown, you should come crawling before me, how can I? And the clowns, indeed, the following week, they were apologizing that we did not intend to invite you, sir. The speaker was on her knees saying, no, we couldn't have invited you, sir. So the military has taken over, Oscar.
Yeah.
The security that Ofono Opondo was talking about, and the military regimes, whether it is Gaddafi, whether it is everybody, they tend to make their countries secure. The point Abud was making, so you can go to town free and come back,
Raymond,
but you are under military.
Yesterday, again, I don't know, because these Honorable Ssemujju, these traffic rules that you MPs are giving, you've decreed new traffic rules and everything. So the cars that passed me, I couldn't photograph them quickly, were military trucks. Then they got to the traffic lights and drove past the traffic lights. One of them was a pickup, no number plate, just drove past the pickup. Military truck. Then the next one I saw, all this happened to me yesterday. Coming to town, for us old people who live in villages, it is hard work. Then I saw another one being led by a military escort. I don't know whether it was Dombos, but it was a Land Cruiser, and the number plates were covered.
I suggest that before we go out,
and the number plates were covered.
We sent somebody to check Dombo's entrance.
Yes. So it was actually very, very neatly covered.
Yes.
Okay, and again that car was moving. Ahead of it was the escort, military escort. So is that security?
Yes. Oscar, I worry the gentlemen in this room are not sufficiently equipped to understand popular immiseration.
Right.
Outside there, more than 22 million of the people of Uganda are young people. You need to see the level of immiseration. People think that insecurity is that, you know, the army is beating opposition politicians and all that. But there are many young people who do not see a path to the success that people who are aged 40, 50 already have. A path to basic things, a good home, taking your children to school, being able to afford hospital.
Even a mortgage.
Yes. And that immiseration, yes. Even we call it loose, but so that immiseration, these many of the people who say they are, for example, opposition politicians, will still use the military and police to guard their assets, their wealth assets. If you buy a plot of land in Ssemujju's constituency now, you need to have the number of the DPC and the OCC ID there, so that they can deploy with ease if anyone contests your ownership of that land. So that kind of immiseration is growing, and increasingly many young people are, I think, quiet, but they're trying to organize differently. They may not be a source of insecurity, but their apathy might become a source of insecurity. That you have a political system that's trying to respond to the needs of people, and people have completely given up on it. In the public out there, for example, everyone in the political class is one and the same. Whether you are in the opposition or you are in government, all of you are one and the same. When people look from the outside in, they say, these MPs, they are thieves, they are taking money. So now even our good friends like Ssemujju have been fighting budget indiscipline. When the time comes that they are talking about, it won't spare them. Yes, but
a friend of mine, Raymond, told me that
Yes.
someone built on his land. It's known his land. They built on the land. They built a structure. He also came at night and demolished the structure.
and yes,
And that's how they have worked.
yes, but I don't agree with the professor's analysis that, you know, the state will disintegrate. In many of the scenarios,
You young people who are celebrating the death of people.
no. The scenarios,
That signifies.
yes, the scenarios that we've seen across the continent. For example, in Egypt, the state then becomes a very militaristic entity. So Egypt slipped into a military dictatorship. Sudan slipped into a military dictatorship.
That has collapsed.
A lot of West African countries have now slipped into military dictatorships. Countries like Kenya, where popular immiseration is also happening, they have slowly lost their appetite for liberal democratic politics and have started to use the patronage politics. So it's highly unlikely that we'll have a one-day event where, you know, the state slips into violence. It's very likely we might get into patronage, or more likely that our military institutions, or those institutions that have force and violence, will become more prominent and more important to the political system. In which case, a lot of this politics won't matter then. Yeah.
It will stay with me what you said, that the day PLU starts competing with NRM. Honorable Dombo.
Agaba had the Dombo for
Oh, Dank Abigaba
Agaba.
had Dombo for breakfast.
Oscar.
Not even breakfast.
Oscar, not many years ago, Uganda was the biggest exporter of refugees in the region. Right now, Uganda is
We export labor.
the biggest host country to refugees from various parts of the country.
True.
This movement shows you the level of the nature of security,
Actually, in the world, we are recognized.
the nature of security that we have in the country. That this type of movement shows you that there is something that is attracting people here. Now, maintaining that security, it takes the total determination and correct interventions that are done by the state. People can talk about utopia, countries where the stability is because there is integration. Even where there is integration, the state apparatus that guarantees security must be effective, must be knowledgeable, and must be doing a good job. That's why the UPDF, the police, and other security agencies have tried to do a good job here. On integration, just yesterday I met a Pakistani who has decided to settle in Uganda. And he made a comment and said, you people in Uganda, you just don't know how beautiful your country is. He said that there are not many countries that you get Honorable Katuntu, a Muslim, Honorable Ssemujju, a Muslim, a Catholic stayed here, a Protestant, and you're on the same table discussing, and you go back home. There are many countries, including Africa, where this is not happening. The level of integration is very poor. In Uganda, when the NRM had just come to power, in the tax park of Uganda, there used to be preachers, both from the Pentecostal and the Muslim world, and they would insult one another, bordering of almost killing one another. Just a few days ago, a Muslim cleric made a statement about Namugongo, which he doesn't understand. But you go on social media and see how the other Muslim clerics have responded to him. Then you see that the level of integration and acceptability and people working together is so good. So, through state institutions, government has tried to do a good job. Through integration, it is a journey. But the people of Uganda accept one another, stay with one another. It is the economic inequality that is creating challenges within the background, and purely because some opposition politicians are misleading the young people by not telling them that economic prosperity comes out of hard work. It doesn't come out of just getting and taking and patience over time. So we have tried our best. NRM has tried its best, but there is still a lot that must be done and can only be achieved if we collectively work together.
Hold on, then I'll come back to you because we have very few minutes in. But I won't allow to have last words, so I'll come back to you.
I thought I'm the expert. Former government spokesperson.
Former is the key word.
Former government spokesperson. Former
security, insecurity. We have
I just want to limit myself to the two issues.
Yes.
Because we don't have time. The raiding of the police station and attempting to force the police to release or detain suspects is a case of gross indiscipline by those few elements in the UPDF. Detention ought to be an official thing. If the army has apprehended somebody, it should go, give reasons, give the nature of the suspicion, and is recorded formally.
And take them to court martial.
No. First of all, detention.
Yeah.
What follows, whether you take to court martial or to the civil courts, whatever it is subsequent. And therefore, personally, I want to. So I say it is a gross indiscipline on those elements, and it is good. The combination of the army, intelligence, and police did hot pursuit, apprehended them, and to the best of my knowledge, they're in custody. And knowing the tradition in the UPDF, those fellows are going to have their matters really handled with the firm hand. And I hope Col Magezi, my young brother, will come out maybe after that process to tell the world what the UPDF, what the issues were really, and how the UPDF has. Now, the second one of terrorism or suspected terrorism, the UPDF and the security has said it was intelligence led. By the intelligence neutralizes many things. Much of the work in security actually we don't see. Bad people, particularly terrorists, will never give up. They will keep trying. And in this particular case, people say, Ssemujju says it doesn't add up. But security said we have been trailing, and we waited at the right junction, the right rendezvous, and we neutralized. Now, for Ssemujju to say that this is the work that the president plants false intelligence, plants false terrorist alert, and
perhaps
so
because there's not enough information.
But the president does not need to give to Ssemujju.
No, when there are deaths involved, then yes, he needs to.
No. But he's saying that yes, there will in any case, in any matter, there will be people who will want to take advantage of the situation. And so, what he's saying that to Mukunde, I don't know, Mijenye, they used to skim money using false intelligence, and so
maybe
probably that's the reason they were removed.
Okay.
Yes, but we don't expect the mainstay of intelligence and security to be fabricating intelligence for purposes of money.
Up to one sentence.
Well, I think the Ghana People's Defense Forces owes its sister agency, the Uganda Police, an explanation, and also the public. And respect, actually, because you see, if you have an incident like these two incidents in Wakis and so on, and then the Uganda People's Defense Forces is mute about it, it sends a different signal. Tomorrow you'll have one Rogo soldier in Nakapiripiriti also attacking a police station, and he thinks it is business as usual. We don't and there shouldn't be apologies for this sort of thing. The Army Administration, the Minister of Defense Administration should come out strongly and say, look, this is unacceptable.
Thank you.